what they thought was there'll be younger workers paying into the system, people will die off at 63, the funds will be built up. But they kept dipping into the fund. And then, today, life expectancy is 77 years, thanks to the most innovative healthcare system in the world. Then came 1973 and the infamous Roe v. Wade. In the past 26 years, as a society, we have murdered 50 million babies, or in the government's estimation, laborers. You see, they killed all the laborers off, so we don't have enough money in Social Security. Simple mathematics, less people working, less money being paid into the system, and no money comes out at the end. But wait, there's more. After World War II, we saw the biggest economy boom in the history of the world, which produced much of the modern conventions we have today, advanced science and technology, and put a man on the moon. But while our fathers and grandfathers were working hard, paying into the system, and fighting 4 more wars, the progressives flipped into our public education systems and began the systematic dismantling of not only our public schools, but the very fabric of our society. This resulted in the longest war in which our country has ever been engaged and is still engaged in today, the war on poverty. And what did we get in exchange? Another Ponzi scheme, Medicare, passed by LBJ. Less kids graduating high school, and of those who do, only 40% can even read the diploma they are handed. I once had a superintendent of schools tell me that it was more important that a child have a healthy self-esteem than it was for them to read. Unbelievable, isn't it? And let's not forget a national debt that will enslave my great-great-grandchildren. But that's been the progressive goal all along since 1905. But they have awoken a sleeping giant. Is it not apparent to you by now that when the federal government overhauls or takes control of anything, they screw it up and we are left with nothing but the ashes? We have higher crime rates, rampant immorality, an illicit rate of 40% between the ages of 18 and 65, a tax burden that gets more punitive for those of us who strive to achieve to be the best in our chosen fields, and a government who is so corrupt and so arrogant they have nothing left but $5 brains and $50 hairdos. And now they want to take over our health care because we can't afford it any longer. How about taking the stimulus money that hasn't been spent and infuse that into our health care system instead of using it to pay back your political cronies and the lobbyists? I'll close with this. I've often asked myself this question, and I even asked my mom this question. Why didn't previous generations stand up and stop this incremental move towards the enslavement of their children and grandchildren? They didn't know. Too busy fighting wars and freeing the world, working to get ahead, or just didn't care. It doesn't matter the reason. I stand here today, as God is my witness, that my generation and my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandchildren will be blessed with the doctrine of freedom. Freedom to be who God created them to be. Freedom from the stench of corruption that permeates our society, and freedom from would-be slave masters residing in our national and state capitals. Yes, there is a revolution brewing, one that the progressives and those of this world that would dare attempt to enslave the American people didn't count on. They failed to understand the indomitable American spirit and the ever-longing desire to be free that is genetically encoded into our DNA. Washington, D.C. on 9/12, and let us strive to ensure that the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness endowed by our Creator are never threatened again. Freedom!
Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you so much. Just got off the phone, the Tea Party Express. They are rolling this way. They're down around Arkadelphia. They're about an hour. Well, they should be about 5 after 7. 5 after 7 when I talked to them a few minutes ago. So we're going along good. But guys, we're having a good time. That's what I told them. We're going to have a good time whether they're here or not. And we're looking forward to them getting here, but we're going to have a good time in the meantime. All right, you know what? We've had a couple of speakers now that look in age somewhat like me. But now then I'm thankful that we got some younger folks coming on, and we've got a couple of young men who are going to speak now. First one is Nicholas Horton from Searcy, Arkansas. Nicholas is a Harding grad student, and he's done an outstanding job with the Tea Party there at Searcy. So, Nicholas, come on. Where are you? Here he is, right here.
Good afternoon. What an awesome crowd. In 1773, a group of patriots disguised themselves as Indians and dumped crates of British tea into the Boston Harbor, marking this nation's very first Tea Party. Taxation without representation was their cry, and that is the mantle we carry here today. It is the same struggle we're fighting here. The original Tea Party organizers were not opposed to all taxes, but they were tired of giving their hard-earned money to an unresponsive, irresponsible government. They were angry, and they had a right to be. They risked their lives and the lives of their families on that day. They risked their honor, their livelihood, for what they knew was right. So here we are today, September 4th, 2009, 236 years later. And we're gathered here today because we are fed up. We live in the freest, greatest, strongest nation in the history of the world. And yet, we are losing our liberties right here. The enemy is no longer the British government, but a government that was designed to be ours. A government of the people, by the people, for the people. Is that the government that you know? Not anymore. I didn't think so. It is a government of waste, corruption, and of theft. Taxation without representation was the banner of our founders, and it is the banner we are now charged with. Through this Tea Party and the others across America,
set up a tripod up there.
Continuing their fight.
Yeah, you can use it if you want to.
Give me liberty or give me death, said Pastor King. Thomas Jefferson said, "I've sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man."
Yeah, I recorded
Today, my friends, we most certainly face tyranny in America.
I think I got a little
We
bit.
face a tyrannical threat from within our own borders, as the national government extends their power through heavy taxation, controlled education, and the commandeering of our private industries. The government instituted to protect our freedoms now infringes upon them more than ever, and our liberties, in addition to our finances, have been taxed enough already.